he was seen smiling in public, posting online, living a normal life. And then suddenly, a young woman vanished, and everything he had carefully presented began to unravel. What really happened behind closed doors? And how did a night that seemed ordinary end in a crime that shocked an entire city? Welcome to Unresolved Casefiles. In April of 2024, the city of Milwaukee was drawn into a case that unfolded in real time across social media, police briefings, and court documents. At the center of it was a 33-year-old man named Maxwell Anderson, and a woman whose disappearance would quickly turn into a homicide investigation. The story began quietly. A woman was reported missing after failing to return home following a date. Friends became concerned when messages went unanswered and routines were broken. Her phone activity stopped, and what initially felt like a delay quickly became something far more serious. Investigators learned that the last person known to have seen her was Maxwell Anderson. The two had met earlier and spent time together at his apartment. On the surface, nothing appeared unusual. There were no immediate reports of conflict, no obvious warning signs, no calls for help. But as police began retracing her final movements, attention turned sharply toward that apartment. Detectives requested permission to search Anderson's residence. What they found raised immediate alarm. Evidence suggested that something had gone terribly wrong inside the apartment, and that the scene may have been altered afterward. The discovery shifted the case from a missing person investigation to a suspected homicide. As details emerged, questions multiplied. Why had there been a delay in reporting what happened? Why were certain items missing? And why did the timeline provided by Anderson not fully align with digital evidence investigators were beginning to collect? Soon after, Maxwell Anderson was taken into custody and formally charged. Prosecutors alleged that the crime occurred inside his apartment, and that he attempted to conceal what had happened in the hours that followed. Surveillance footage, phone records, and witness statements began forming a clearer picture of the night, but key moments remained unclear. What stood out to many following the case was how ordinary everything looked before it wasn't. There was no dramatic lead-up, no public argument, no visible sign that events were about to turn tragic. It raised an uncomfortable question. How often do crimes happen not in moments of chaos, but in silence? As court proceedings began, prosecutors outlined their theory. They alleged that after the woman's death, Anderson attempted to mislead investigators, moving items and providing explanations that did not match forensic findings. The defense, however, pushed back, emphasizing the importance of due process and the presumption of innocence. The case quickly gained attention, not only because of the charges, but because of how modern it felt. Digital footprints played a crucial role. Location data, text messages, timestamps, and surveillance footage all became central pieces of evidence. Unlike older cases built primarily on eyewitness accounts, this investigation unfolded through data points and digital trails. Yet even with technology, unanswered questions remained. What exactly triggered the events inside the apartment? Was there a moment when things escalated beyond control? And were there warning signs that only became clear in hindsight? Friends and family of the victim described her as kind, trusting, and full of life. They spoke about the pain of not knowing what happened in those final moments, and the frustration of waiting for answers that only one person might truly have. Public reaction was intense. Online discussions dissected every update, every court appearance, every newly released detail. Some focused on the legal process, others on broader issues of safety and trust in modern dating. The case became a reminder of how quickly familiarity can turn into vulnerability. As the legal process continues, the outcome remains uncertain. Courts will determine guilt or innocence based on evidence presented, testimony examined, and facts weighed carefully. But regardless of the verdict, the impact of this case has already been felt. It has raised difficult conversations about accountability, about the role of digital evidence, and about how easily violence can be hidden behind a normal exterior. It has also highlighted the lasting pain carried by families when answers are incomplete and timelines are contested. For now, the Maxwell Anderson case exists in a space between accusation and resolution. Files are open, evidence is under scrutiny, and the courtroom will ultimately decide what is proven beyond doubt. But for those left searching for clarity, the questions linger. What truly happened in that apartment? Could it have been prevented? And how many details remain locked away, known only to the person at the center of the case? Until every question is answered, this story remains part of the growing archive of modern cases that challenge our assumptions about safety, trust, and truth. This has been another case file. For more up-to-date and real-life cases, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching.